Welcome to the Intentional Life podcast, where it's all about real strategies, real tools, and techniques to help you truly become the author of your life story.
Hello and welcome to the first episode of the podcast, The Intentional Life. We're Vilma and Camilla, and we're so excited to be here.
Hi guys, we're super excited to be here because Camilla and we've been actually secretly cooking this project in the background for some time. So we're psyched to be here speaking to you finally.
Absolutely. And we don't believe in coincidences. So even though Vilma and I actually just met about half a year ago, it seems like our paths have crossed several times throughout our lives. So we both studied in the UK at an overlapping time, and then we both trained under Tony Robbins and Chloe Madanis to become certified life coaches. And yet, we actually just met about 6 months ago when we joined an amazing mastermind group for coaches. And from the first time we spoke, I think, right, Vilma, we just clicked.
Yeah, we definitely connected. Sometimes you just meet people and you just feel like you've known them for a while or forever, and you just feel like you're on the same path. So we ended up, speaking separately from the group because we felt like we just have so much in common and we share this passion for helping people, really.
Yeah, totally. And the way it actually started, right, was that we began to send each other voice messages more and
Yes.
more regularly.
Yeah.
And right now, it's like I wake up in the morning to a 7 minute long voice message from Vilma, who's 1 hour ahead of me. And she's talking about really deep and profound things. And then I'll send her an equally long message back with my reflections. And so basically, this podcast is about making all of this public because we have a lot to share, and we just sincerely hope that we can inspire you guys as much as we inspire each other.
Exactly. So basically our, main hope and reason for doing this is truly share, the knowledge that we have, the experience that we've gathered throughout our lives and also working with our clients. And if this could inspire or help at least one person, I think that's mission accomplished in itself.
Yes,
Yes.
definitely. So, Vilma, by now I think I know you really well, but why don't you start by telling our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Sure, that awkward moment when you have to introduce yourself. So, as Camilla mentioned, we're both certified life coaches, and I'm also an intuitive empath. And we studied under Tony Robbins and Chloe Madanis. And basically, I do believe we pretty much got the best education out there for coaches. I mean, we're both biased,
Yeah.
but we do believe that Tony is pretty much the father of coaching, and the techniques and strategies and tools that we learned are truly life changing. And just to observe how he could change someone's life in a matter of minutes, I mean, for me, it was complete magic. So now that I work with clients, I pretty much use both of those sides of me, where strategic intervention that we studied is more like that masculine side of using strategies and tools and techniques to help someone, and I also incorporate my intuition and intuitive guidance, which makes it this sort of strange union that I apply when working with people. And currently, I mean, the last couple of years, I'm super, super passionate about this, topic and program that I'm currently about to launch, which is to do with helping people discover their meaning and their purpose and fulfillment. And, observing life and observing people around me, I see that it's almost this like global pandemic of people feeling really unfulfilled and stuck and lost and like drained energy wise. And I do believe that one of the main reasons for that could be is because they haven't really found that something that they're truly passionate about. Like Camilla and I, when we found coaching, it kind of like really made it all make sense suddenly, and like life completely got different colors. And I'm sure we're going to go into that into more detail later, but I do believe that everyone is here with certain qualities and, aspirations and innermost dreams for a reason. And it's really important to find that something. So basically, this is what I've been working on as well. Like I said, I'm about to launch this program. And this is where I really want to help people find what, I found in my life. And a little bit of background, as you can tell, probably I have an accent, so I'm definitely not a native speaker. Sometimes people really struggle to place the accent, so I'm actually Lithuanian, and I lived in a couple of different countries. Like Camilla said, I studied in London, and then I lived in Portugal, Iceland, and a lot of other random countries. And I proudly call myself an ex-corporate slave because my background is actually in finance, and for some years I worked in the corporate world. But truly, ever since I started, I did feel like it's just not for me, and I felt like my soul was suffocating really, like day in and day out. And yeah, this is where I'm at. Also, I'm a cat person because I I know this is a really random fact, right? To start with, to open up with, hey, I'm a cat person, but I do like to divide the world into cat and dog people. So, for those of you who know what I'm talking about, I'm a cat person. And I'm obsessed with books, with crystals. I absolutely adore nature, and I try to spend as much time as possible in nature because I believe there is so much wisdom there. And I do believe that if we spend more time there and if we observe nature, we pretty much have the whole roadmap on how to do life. Do you,
Mm,
it's literally there in front of us.
yeah.
And I was thinking about the random things about myself. I'm really into Jamaican dance hall, and I actually dance it, and I'm super passionate about it. It's the most random thing, but I don't know if you
I'd
guys
like to
even
see
know.
that.
Yes, well, maybe I will share some videos when I'm a bit better. But it's all about like having fun and letting loose, and truly like finding those creative outlets for you to really, I mean, enjoy life. Because I believe in joy. I think life should be
Mm,
fun.
yes.
And I'm a coffee addict, but right now I'm actually trying to quit. So I'll see how that goes for me.
Great. Well, I'm also a coffee addict, but I'm the type that is not trying to quit at all.
I'm so
I
jealous.
just, I love having my bulletproof coffee in the morning, and then I probably have like two more cups throughout the day
Mm,
of my organic fair trade coffee.
yeah.
And yeah, it just, coffee, it's more than just a beverage to me. It gives me this warm and cozy feeling as if I were like sitting with friends from the TV show on their couch at Central
Yeah,
Park and sipping it. I just love it.
absolutely.
And so let me tell you a little bit about me. I am also a certified life coach as well as a relationship coach. I'm originally from Vienna, Austria. And I'd say I grew up in a somewhat multicultural family. So I have grandparents that are Spanish and Italian. My mom is a diplomat's child, so she moved around a lot. And I would say there was always a great interest and room for different cultures, languages, traveling, and the likes, right? So, for instance, the kind of games that we would play in the car going on vacation were like, ooh, let's pick one word and see in how many languages we can translate it. Or,
Oh,
oh,
wow.
let's see, yeah, let's see who can find the most false friends in the different languages that we spoke. So we're all really into this. And yeah, I think that really shaped me. So growing up, I was always looking outward a lot, right?
Mm,
I was looking into the big wide world and dreaming of living here or there and kind of imagining that I might be happier somewhere else because life back home back then growing up it just seemed so boring to me. I always wanted out and I wanted more and I wanted what I saw on TV and remember this was back in the 90s, so the world wasn't as connected as it is today and things weren't as accessible as they are now. And yeah, so I guess it came as no surprise that I jumped at any chance I got to spend summers abroad, and I studied a semester abroad in high school. And when I was 18, I went to university in the UK, like you. I studied international relations and European studies, which I really enjoyed. And from there, well, the whole thing started, right? I went to live in Madrid for a couple of years. Then I came back to Vienna, actually met my Spanish now husband there. And so ever since we got married, I'd say that the dynamic has shifted because before it was me pursuing the adventure of moving around and traveling. And now I'm in the position of following my husband and his career, right? So there is a big difference in the experience, between choosing to go here or there versus you having to tag along because it's actually a career choice, right?
Yes.
And yeah, so that really made me reflect a lot on how to be happy no matter where you are and no matter what you got. Because I feel that life is really about that. And in my work with my clients, I refer to this as finding your inner happy place.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of this feeling of being complete and in peace and at home within yourself. So you don't have to look for these things outside, not in your partner, not in your job, not in your environment. Obviously, all of those things are important, but I think the basis has to be inside of yourself. Otherwise, if you don't have that inner foundation of, let's say, wholeness, of being whole, then the joy that your relationship and your children and your job can give you will never fully reach you. There'll always be a part of you that will feel a little empty or anxious, right?
Yeah.
And so ultimately, I think that's what made me get into coaching. I've always been the type of person who just loved to help others with their problems, not only because I enjoy being there for my friends, but also because I felt the sense of meaning when I did it that you were referring to earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is so important, and it's like my calling.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I've always been reading like psychological books and always had a profound interest in the field of personal growth. But I think it was really my experience of being kind of like a nomad for so many years, moving around a lot, that made me get into coaching to get more stability. And so I
Mm-hmm.
really want to touch other women who are in the situation and who have sacrificed a whole lot by moving abroad for love, let's say. And a lot of times this isn't really acknowledged and appreciated. So, I mean, they left their family, their friends, their career, their native language, and so many other things, all to start over in a strange land, so to speak. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, they have, their husband and their family, but still, there are so many challenges related to such a transition. And so I really want to step in there and help them overcome those struggles to find their inner happy place so that the fact that they live abroad is not what defines them. Only what they make of their lives does. And yeah, it's such a beautiful profession. It's incredible to see how you can help people to live much stabler and happier lives and help relationships and families to flourish abroad. It's just beautiful.
Oh, absolutely. I do believe it's very important what you do. And I do even actually have several friends who are literally, well, they would be your ideal clients. And,
Yeah,
I
there are
firsthand
so many.
yeah, firsthand notice how hard it is on them. Because at first, once the excitement of changing the location like weans off, then they're left with exactly what you told about. Like they're alone, they're without friends. Some of them don't speak the local language, and it can be so isolating, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's maybe you are on a foreign assignment for 3 years, let's just say. That's
Mm-hmm.
still hard because 3 years is a long time.
Yeah.
But in the case of a lot of expats, and especially a woman that moved abroad for their relationship, for their marriage, right? They don't know if they'll ever come back. They might
Right.
either turn into serial expats that just go from one place to
Serial
the other.
expats. I love
Yeah,
that.
or they're just stuck there and then their kids, they will be from that other place, and a lot of potential there, of course, and you can really create a life that you love abroad, but it isn't all that easy.
Right.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
That's beautiful.
And so, Vilma, how about you? How did you get into coaching?
Well, I mean, where do I start? How much time have we got? No.
Oh, we got all the time in the world.
So, basically, I am a believer that whenever life sends you, certain hardships or, painful situations, I think it's for you. And once we overcome that, it's almost like we can share those gifts and those experiences with someone else who is going through that. So I believe like similar like you, because you're basically helping others to deal with something that you've gone through and still are going through,
Mhm.
right? And so
Mhm.
for me, it was very similar, when it comes to purpose and meaning, because I'm so huge on that. So basically, it all started maybe in my mid 20s when I was finished with my master's and I got into, corporate. And then very quickly afterwards, I realized that I was completely miserable. Like on paper, I should have been totally happy, but truly inside, there was such a big void in me where I was like, you know what? I don't know what's up, but there's something completely off about my life. I feel like I'm living someone else's life. And that's when I sort of that period I call, it's, I think it's, in Christianity there's a term, and in some spiritual communities they use the dark night of the soul, and that's how I kind of refer to it, where basically, like, at some point I realized I had no idea who I was, I had no idea what I wanted, and I had no idea where to go next. I just knew that whatever was happening in my life was not working and I had to quit, right? So I mean, I'm someone who is like, either does something 100% or doesn't do it all. So, I literally quit everything. I quit my job, which was pretty well paid, and, kind of, my mom was very happy about it, and she thought I completely lost my mind. Like literally, she was so terrified, as parents would, right? And then I moved to Iceland and I lived, by the Arctic Ocean for some time because I really felt like I needed to remove myself from the situation in order to really find myself again. And, that's when my quest for meaning started. And I literally refused to go back to corporate until I found that clarity on who I was and what I, naturally and authentically wanted to do with my life, because I couldn't just live in that existential like mode. I wanted to live and, like, savor life and be excited about life. So that's when, a lot of the, retreats, coaches, mantras, chanting, started. You name it all. I've tried everything. And back then I really, at some point, there was so much material, but at the same time there was no like one comprehensive like place or person or tool that I could use in order to help me go through that process of discovering myself again. And I remember it all really clicked for me. In Funny enough, it was not in a seminar after reading a book. I don't know, maybe it was like a cumulative effect. But I was watching actually a documentary by Warren Buffett, and because I love him, as a person, not just, what he's achieved financially, but just in general, the way he lives life and the way, his wisdom that he has about life. And I remember towards the end of the documentary, it was like a scene where he was basically in a school, because sometimes he gives lectures to children, right, to inspire them. And then he said something like, I'm not going to quote it word by word, but he said something about that we should not spend our time sleepwalking through life. And then he
Oh,
said,
wow.
yeah, and then he said, I've been so lucky because for the past 60 years, I've had a job that I absolutely adore. And there has not been one day where I would wake up and get out of bed and not be excited about the day. And then I thought about me, and I was like, oh my God, I don't remember the time when I would wake up and be excited about, I don't think, I
Yeah.
haven't had it for years. And I remember then somehow it all clicked and I started bawling, and it was such a like crying, I remember I was in the kitchen and I fell on the floor and it was so dramatic. And sometimes you feel like
Oh
if your
no.
life was a movie, that would be really good scene.
Oh yeah. I can
Yes.
actually visualize it.
Yes, exactly. And then I was like, oh my God, like for all these years I've been running away from myself. And then, it kind of all came perfectly together because just like you, ever since I could remember myself, I was into psychology and, self-development and spirituality, and then later on quantum physics and esoteric world and all of that. And, I was also the go-to person that my friends would come to for advice. And I was like, oh my God, like, I think I just naturally am that person who wants to help people and I should stop running away from it. So just like with a lot of my clients, my answer was right there in front of me. It's just that sometimes we find, we spend a lot of time kind of looking around and waiting for those
Mm.
profound, moments, but actually it's right there. So it definitely is, like, I think a little bit of a hard and scary process sometimes, because if you liken yourself to a computer, in order to kind of get to that authenticity, even though I don't think there's ever like a final moment where you're kind of done, I think it's a lifelong journey. But in order to get closer to that, it's almost like you need to uninstall the false programs, like deprogram yourself to unbecome everything you're not in order to get to your true core. And so that was like this beautiful process for me. But at one point, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do this, even though, it was hard for me, for my ego. It required a lot of ego deaths, what I call, to be able to
Yeah.
acknowledge and accept that this is who I am, right? Because it was an uncomfortable truth. I was supposed to be this like investment banker and, work in the city of London and do all of that. So that, that's kind of been my journey. But now, I remember my very first coaching session. And I remember like we finished the session and then I sat down and I was like, like again, I cried. Like, I think I'm just a crier. I need to, I need to acknowledge that. And I remember this utter, like, I don't even know. I don't think you can put it into words, but it was like, this elevated joy. And I was like, I can't believe that, this is like what it feels like when you can actually truly live your purpose. And then I was like, you know what? I need to help others find that, because I do believe we all have that something that once executed on, it could bring that amazing fulfillment and also financial success. Because if you enjoy it, sooner or later, I do believe it could bring you, financial success. So that was, my dramatic, my dramatic story.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing. And it's so true that problems stem from not being truly connected with
Mm,
yourself and not really in tune with yourself and your spirit and aligned with it, right? So
yes.
I totally feel you on that.
Yeah.
Um,
And
Great.
and I think that's the reason why, you and I kind of resonated with the name of the podcast, the Intentional Life
Oh,
podcast,
yes.
because we both believe that we literally, all of us are creators of our life. Like, you decide what you actually want to do, who you want to become, what you want to, have, own, be, you name it. But in order to get there, that's that self-awareness or like self-auditing process that you have to go through in order to truly live in alignment and sustainably, right?
Mm.
And then, once you have that, that's when you can set any intention you want and kind of live your life on purpose, not just in constant reaction mode, because I think the world often lives in reaction. And then it's really hard then to be that driver, of your life.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. That is so important.
Yeah.
And so, guys, what you can expect of this podcast is that we want to, as Wilma mentioned in the beginning, we really want to provide you with weekly doses of awareness. We'll pick a different topic for every episode and you with lots of value and actionable tools and strategies, things that you can implement into your life right away. Because personally, what drives me crazy is when I'm watching a YouTube video or I listen to a podcast. mm, And you know how it has the salesy title that draws you in, like, do these three things and you'll, I don't know, night or something,
Yeah.
whatever. So they promise you all of those things, but then actually it's just 30 minutes of rambling and they don't get to the point. It just drives me crazy.
I
So we
feel you.
definitely want to avoid that. We want to make each episode valuable and tangible for you and hopefully help you transform your life for the better as well. Because remember, life is all about growth. If you're not moving forward, I don't know, are you standing still? Are you going backward?
Yeah.
Really about growth, and that's what we want to inspire you to do as well.
Absolutely. And, Camilla and I, we're very, like she said, we are very results oriented. So, we're gonna try to keep the length of each episode up to half an hour. I mean, we can't promise anything, but that's a goal, so you could kind of consume it quickly and also just get as much value as possible from it. So, we are planning to release an episode a week. And next week, we're actually gonna talk about overwhelm because we feel like literally everyone, in spite of your age, sex, background, is dealing with it. It's
Oh,
it's
yes.
huge. It's like it's
It's
massive. It's
huge.
everywhere. So, we're really excited about it because it's something that both of us also deal with. Camilla being, a mom of two beautiful boys, and me just doing way too much that I should be doing. So, overwhelm is definitely a guest sometimes. And actually, we want to kind of dissect it and let you know what overwhelm is and how to actually deal with it. So we're very excited.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what, guys? You can also reach out to us. We're going to leave our websites and our email addresses for you. So you can tell us, first of all, what you think of our podcast. Second, if there are any topics that you would love for us to discuss. And or just, simply introduce yourself and let us know who you are. We'd absolutely love for that to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And please subscribe, share, comment. It's all very welcome because we're doing this for you. So the more you interact with us, the more we can be of service to you. And thank you for joining us today. We loved, introducing ourselves, and we can't wait to dive in and actually start bringing you a lot of value, guys.
Yes. Thank you so much for listening, and we can't wait to be back.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe, share, and comment, and do let us know how our tips are working out for you. You can find our websites below, and we'd love to virtually meet you there.